Alright, good morning, welcome. It's nice having you around today. It's World Mental Health Day, right?
Yes.
So I'm glad to have you people here as we discuss deeper on mental health. And for our viewers who are joining us, we are here live from Facebook. These are students from His Lordship Private Secondary School here in Shagamu, Ogun State. And it's our delight to join others in other parts of the world to celebrate and also join World Health Organization to create further awareness on mental health. Mental health is a concern because every day the statistics of people who are predisposed to different kinds of mental disorders, they are on the increase, and we've deemed it fit to join this campaign to bring to your awareness that mental health should not be handled lightly. It's a commitment that all of us must make one or two contributions to make such campaign a great and a huge success. So today I have with me here to discuss, and it is a chat, so we welcome your input. We are ready to attend to your questions, and as well we request you to make your contributions to the comment box, and be rest assured it will be highly acknowledged. I have with me here from my left hand side
So, my name is Emma Covenant.
a Himari Covenant. Covenant, you're welcome. It's nice to have you around. And you?
Primary conscious.
A Himari Conscience. I'm sure you're going to be wondering the would I call it repetition of surname? Don't worry, you can figure out yourself. And lastly, Balogun Coinsola. You are welcome to the chat this morning. So we are discussing on mental health. Today is 10th October, and the World Health Organization has chosen to make a global campaign and awareness on mental health. So, what's the theme for this year's celebration? What's the theme?
Make mental health and well-being for all a good priority.
Thank you so much. That's, yes, I think I was reading that not quite too long. Make mental health and well-being for all a global priority. You see, I read a funny post sometimes. Someone said that there are only four people who are in their correct sanity. So the rest, they are all the same. Yes, we see different activities, different attitudes, different reactions from people, and we are almost tempted to say, this person must be mad. People flare up easily, any slightest thing, the way they react, you almost want to wonder, has this person been piling up issues or offenses against me? Or is it just what happened now? These are actually mental situations at expressing themselves. So we really want to know what are the better ways to manage these situations, knowing fully well that if an individual is mentally unfit, his entire health is already compromised. Because someone can be physically fit and not having any disorder, let's say one limb or the blind eye, headache, and all of that, and they were like, wow, I wish, sometimes we see people dressed and their dressing could be so fascinating and we almost desire to look like them. But unfortunately, most times those people pass through a whole lot of mental disorders, but we do not see that until probably at a closer interaction. So I'm going to ask, what's mental health? Let's start from there. Please, let's start from the known to the unknown. I'm sure our audience are anticipating to hear from us further. What's mental health? Maybe I start with Covenant.
Mental health is a mental condition that shows feelings of helplessness, emptiness, sadness, and sometimes it makes people anxious. Depression, it's just like a proverb which says, don't judge a book by the cover. Sometimes you can see a person smiling and well behaved, but inside of the person is mentally unstable, which shows depression.
Okay. Wow, you just answered the question and then you probably gave us an addition to it. Say mental health situations that can result to hopelessness, deep sadness, and all of that could actually result to being described as a mental situation. But I was going to ask, the way we, some these days, especially in our own dispensation, we hear a lot of persons talk about emotion, 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 emotion. Maybe especially among the female folk. Someone one time said, between the male and the female, who is more emotional? Or what do you think about that? Your judgment, who do you think is more emotional between the male and the female? The female. Do you agree with them?
Yes.
The female. Why?
But anti-recognition.
Okay.
That is actually the same thing in that same way. A male also can go through mental instability. That's why we are all human beings. Human beings are created with the same functions in our body, but we think the same, but it's just how we handle it and we face up to it.
Yes. She made something. Said we are created, wired in the same way, but the way we manage our situations is what actually distinguishes this from that. So I'm tempted to say that actually the male is more emotional. And I'm like, how? Someone said men are more emotional, but they have a better way to manage their emotions than the woman. If you look at marriage situations, yes, and then maybe using our homes for instance, sometimes we see our fathers taking the extra step to do a few things just to put a smile on the faces of our mothers, and vice versa too. So there is a place of emotion in the both parties, and they can respond and reciprocate to it. But talking about emotion with respect to the subject discussed this morning as part of our mental health, because an individual is said to be mentally healthy when his emotions, his psychology, and his social life is stable. So where there is instability in all of this, then we already have a case of mental instability or mental disorder. And as at 2019, a research actually profiled that about 300 million persons suffered anxiety disorder. And out of these 300 million, 58 million were children and adolescents. Anxiety disorder, of course, people can get necessarily anxious. Take an example. A teacher walks into your class. Perhaps you're not prepared for a particular assessment. And the teacher says, tear out a piece of paper, it's time for test. What happens to you first?
You become anxious.
Anxious. Why?
Because it's something you're not prepared for, and suddenly getting something, a news that you're not even um, ready to hear. Um, Others are actually there. Some are prepared while some are not. But you know yourself and you know where you stand. So actually having to write that test, you already know what you're going to get. And most of the time, it happens to be positive if you stay positive, and it is negative if you're negative. And it's only like that because if you're positive, you're ready to actually just put in your best to do anything to actually just pass and put all the spirit of failure aside. But if you're negative, you're like, you've given up already. And the energy you have in you is what you're going to put in that test, and that's how you're not going to get it.
Thank you.
So I would like to contribute to what she said. I would define that situation like you walking and seeing the ghosts. You become scared. So it's up to you to decide if you should run or you should act bravely. Because you know yourself and you know you are prepared or not. We humans, our brain has a lot of storage system, let me put it that way. In our brain, no one has an empty brain. in our brain there's always something there. So you give yourself that courage that you can write that test. When that courage is not there, that's what actually brings failure.
Thank you. Yes, I perfectly agree with you. In fact, when she talked about if you're positive about it, you see yourself pull through. If you're negative about it, you expect the other thing. I remember in my BSc program, I wrote a particular course then, physiology precisely. Something happened in my department. It was a misunderstanding between the lecturers. So the misunderstanding ended up, they tell you when two elephants fight, the grass suffers it. So these were professors, and one tried to prove the point that the standard of the question is not up to his expectation, and in an attempt to prove to the other one that when you see my question, you know that this question is a degree standard question. At the end of the whole day, we ended up writing an MSc exam as BSc student because of the misunderstanding. So everything was entirely strange, and I was in that examination hall. I bent my head, I woke up many times, and of course, I was not one who subscribed to looking around, trying to know an eye giraffe from anyone. So, but the only thing that happened was the fear of so I will carry over this course. It was a second semester course, I remember. The implication was having an extra year. Then suddenly I said, but no, I have always upheld a mindset that I can only do poor but should not fail. So I have always told myself there's no room for failure. The least we can expect is an average performance, but we cannot fail this. In fact, as I was seated in that examination hall, I began to see visions, imaginations of me rewriting the same course again the next day. It was as if I had a board with a screen, and I saw that was in 2019. On the screen, I saw myself the same way I was seated, but the date I saw it was 2020. I said, what does this mean? Does it mean I'm going to rewrite this course again? That was all that fear could proffer. But the moment I said, no, you cannot fail no matter what. And then the whole day, I scaled through when the result came out. I pulled through. So most times our perceptions too can, but I was extremely anxious at that situation. So anxiety will come in different ways. I was discussing with a few friends not quite so long, and then I was sharing an experience what happened during one of my debate contest. A particular one of the contestants literally urinated on his clothes. What do you think would have caused such? I mean, it was not 15, 16, it was a young man, and as a student of about 17 years, 17, 18 or thereabout. And then at the public, he urinated and his trousers. What do you think?
Sir, that is called stage fright,
Stage fright.
and it can be caused by anxiety.
Of course, anxiety and disorder. Now, I want you to know for our viewers out there that all of these things we are actually listed, probably they are common to you or common in your environment. And you must have been wondering, is that all they have to talk about? Yes, these situations pose a whole lot of stress on the brain. And when the brain is stressed, then the mental situation we're talking about sets in, and it doesn't make your health composition better either. As a matter of fact, it somehow affects on your lifespan. Anxiety has effect on your lifespan. Anger too has effect on the lifespan. We had a presentation sometime where we explained the time an individual becomes angry, but an expression of anger of a frown on the face will actually lead to loss of 65% muscles in the system. All right, welcome back. Sorry, I need to attend to something. Of course, you see me in my lab coat, so it's a lab activity that we need to schedule some of this event. All right, so we're going to really look further on depression. So I'll begin with you. You earlier on shed light on what depression is and how we could identify it in a simple sentence or statement. What actually is depression?
Depression is just like when someone, like when there's too much pressure on someone and there's no way out. So all you think is just you have yourself and you have to do it by yourself. And you don't have any hope, but you just think that you have to think that that is the only way that can make you to forget the ills of what has been done.
Okay, Pastor, what do you have to add to what I said?
Depression is more like a mental health situation, which has to do with sadness, hopelessness, and emptiness.
So that means there should be factors that have triggered this situation.
Yes.
Or what are such factors?
Like when the woman is unable to give birth,
Okay.
like there will be too much pressure from the family, it can be from her family, or even it can even be from herself. Because of when she goes out there, see other women with children, she feels sad, and that also causes depression. And sexual abuse. Some children that have been sexual harassed, they might not have the privilege to talk to people. So that is when depression comes in. And child abuse. When a child is being abused and is not treated well, a child becomes sober and depression will be up into the child.
Okay, you've established three important points here in the discussion. Mention of childlessness in marriages. Yes, and today the traditional African society has not helped matters either. I still remember from the region of this country where I come from, most women in the olden days, stand for the recent cases of awareness. Then there is a situation they call, in the traditional language, they call it Obanje. I wouldn't know what it's called in this particular region. Now, most times when women give birth and then the child becomes sickly and sickly and sickly, sometimes the women are even accused of belonging to some occultic groups, and they are the cause of what is happening to the children. Because in recent times, I was discovered that these children actually have situations of sickle cell. And of course, sickle cell situation is not a fault of one of the partners, it is fault of the both of them. Failure to have done proper compatibility tests before getting married. Now, in the same way too, some didn't do proper antigen tests too. And so a man whose antigen contrasts with the wife's own antigen, they got married and they're not able to conceive, because each time the woman's womb will see the implantation of the fetus as a threat, and so the antigen treats it as a foreign body. And such situation, the woman is always blamed. In fact, sometimes some natives, they call the woman a male, especially mother-in-law of those days. And then their son, if you want to marry a fellow man, now she cannot give the child. Some even call her wood. They are all forms of name that will result to depression. So we also create self awareness and appeal. Perhaps there is a woman within your neighborhood who is still having issues with child bearing. Do not create situations of stigma or say things that could trigger more of such. She's already in a situation where she is sad and takes extra actions and activities to elevate her and make her feel happy. Then she talk about cases of child abuse, sexual harassment, and we cannot, the list is endless. It was not in this country where we read on news how a particular woman, the child that stayed with her, not her own child now, she literally punished the child by boiling hot water, pouring the child's skin peeled up entirely. What kind of abuse? Now that child, if she ever gets to recover from that situation, and she keeps seeing the defect on her skin, will keep remembering that people who are not your family members are monsters in her beast. She will never see anyone to be kind, because she believes if you're not related to them, forget about it. that abuse can create a different mindset and insecurity all around the environment. What other ways, or what other things could actually trigger uh, the situation of depression?
So many things can trigger depression. Happiness itself can trigger depression. When you
Wow,
think of it,
happiness.
yes,
That's
when you
interesting.
think of the time you were sad and then you become happy, you find yourself thinking like, why was I sad and why am I happy? They bring about thinking that some people are bad, some people are good. More people plant these thoughts of their mind or of people close to them being the bad ones and people far from them being the good ones. Depression can also be triggered with disappointment in relationship. Nowadays, children think they know best and they decide to get into relationships. Nowadays, they think that is the trend of teenagers and maturity. But that is not the case. Most children can't handle these relationship problems. That they end up breaking up in the normal language. Then the two
What's the
parties
normal language?
in our country today, we call it breakup or heartbreak.
Heartbreak. I, I think one of those days, I woke up and I saw my neighbor. They said, last, everybody will show breakfast. So I was like, oh, it's normal. I mean, when you wake up in the morning, you are trying to take breakfast. So they all busted into laughter. I said, what's funny about what I just said? And they said, breakfast meant breakups or heartbreak. I mean, I was a little bit dazed. I said, oh, what is this generation turning into? Because at first, I thought they were talking about the normal breakfast. So you may hear people talk about breakfast, they have served me breakfast. These days, serving breakfast is no longer the usual meal that has these seven classes of whatever. It's becoming heartbreaks or breakups in relationship, and this could actually trigger um, depression. In fact, what she said, sorry, I had a lot of experiences of people, young people around me who have express depression in different ways. I remember then in our final year, a particular female student in biochemistry department. Just in case you are from the University of Nigeria and you are from the Faculty of Biological Sciences, I'm sure you can relate to what I'm saying now. And the night to one of the final exams, she, I took a student to the clinic, and while I was there, they rushed a female student, and it was an emergency situation. And later on, I tried to find out what situation. Then I was told she drank hypo. Of course, you know hypo with hydrochloric acid is a bleach, and it's almost like cutting her intestines. Then I wanted to find out, so what happened? Was it accidental? Maybe she mistook it for water. They said no, that her boyfriend broke her heart, so she decided to drink hypo because she felt life was useless. Honestly, felt like she could be fully conscious, so I can beat her black and blue if I was her parents present there. I said, what on earth? You've been here for the past 4 years, and sorry, mine said, okay, we also had little experience with the COVID year. And the only way you can end your life is because one young man somewhere who is not even aware of what is happening to you, and that was how she wanted to end it. So in the long run, I think she was being resuscitated, reactivated charcoal and all of that. And she was still saying, hey doctor, this part is impeding me. I was like, but you wanted to die, so why are you asking for emergency attention? That's breakfast. That's the implication of depression in such areas, and many other ways it could actually express itself. Now, all of these things we have x-rayed is simply to help you have a picture into what depression looks like and how it can express itself. Now, I want to quickly ask, what are the effects of this situation? Of course, we know that depression can grin badly on our physical life, on our social life, even on our spiritual life and our relationship with God. Depression can sever and separate us far away from it, and we need to really address it, which is the heart of our discussion. Tips on how to manage these situations. So I come back to you, Consuela. What are the effects of depressions?
Okay, so there are a lot of effects of depression. If it comes to feeling of sadness, hopelessness, and emptiness, that goes a very, very long way because sadness and hopelessness is something I hope no one else will actually feel because feeling of sadness can be caused by a lot of things, maybe through some family conflicts. It can go into sadness and then lead into depression. You can go as far as going into insomnia, which is a sleep disorder. It's either you don't sleep very well or you sleep too much. You don't sleep very well because you think, and then it leads into depression. And then you sleep too much because you're idle. You have nothing to do. While sleeping, you're not thinking about anything. You're awake, you're not thinking about anything. So the only thing you think of is there's nothing else I have to do.
And just like they always say, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So obviously, the devil has so many suggestions to sell out to anyone whose mind is not occupied with something positive. Thank you for that contribution. Because I had a man visit my apartment sometime. The son was in the high school, but the son was not doing well at all. As a matter of fact, this was a boy whose parent had spent for the past 7 years, and they thought he was in the university and they never knew. He ended his program in his probably I think his 200 level. After his 200 level, he never continued. So he kept collecting school fees from home until the parents got worried. How many years course are you studying? 5 years. This is the seventh year. I will be saving money. So I think I had to investigate the matter to find out. I had to visit the faculties and all who are involved. And when I got to see his file, I saw his admission was terminated long ago. So that night, I felt for the man. So while he was asleep, I think I had something that kept me awake walking with him. All his breathing, I could count. They are all breathing of sorrow. You know, when you see a man, usually it's they tell you that men snore when they're very weak and tired. But this one was not snoring. You can literally hear the breathing as though there was a hole in his heart. That is the worst height of depression. So even daybreak, they are not working. I had to tap him. So, sir, just kept water for you in the bedroom so you could prepare. So because we still had other things to do the following day. I think insomnia, that's a little expression of insomnia. He began sleeping so early, woke up so late. Not because he had a stressful journey, because of the situation on ground. Others, they can spend the whole night thinking, what are they thinking about? So apart from that, talk about feeling of sadness, that's true. Talk about insomnia, sleepless nights. What other ways what other effect can depression pose? Thank you.
Depression can cause weakening of immune system.
Wow, weakening our immune system. I think I'll be interested to learn this better.
They all say our mental health is our first health that a human body is challenged with. If when someone is engaged in depression, the person immune system is affected mentally and cease to work very well. I want to say something. When someone is passing through a painful sickness, one can't think well, and anyone can testify to it. Just imagine you in an accident. Will you be at a proper state of mind at that period of time? No, because our mental health has been damaged physically and mentally. So when our mental health is damaged, it affects everything in our body. That's why before one gets sick, they ask you not to think too much. If you go to the doctor, the pregnant woman is asked to take a rest so as to avoid stress from her thinking too much. That means her thinking too much is affecting the baby,
Mm,
which is not in her mind
that's true.
but in her body.
That's true.
So that is telling us that the mind is connected to the body, and the body has the immune system which keep us alive. Most people want to live long, but are hurting their mental health,
Mm.
but wants to live long, but that's not possible, and they end up having some issues.
Take note of that. Most persons want to live long, but they do the opposite. Even you listening to us, if I ask you now, do you want to die now? Say, God forbid. But then we will get to discover your attitude, your mental disposition, to see you are doing a whole lot of harm. The way you think, the way you're, of course, you said this depression could also weaken the immune system. There was a tale, of course, I don't know how true it was like it might. It told us that in a particular community, a story, a forecast was made that a particular disease was going to invade that territory. And so one of the men there, in fear, thoughts, worries, and anxiety. How are we going to manage? How do we cope this? What if it comes and then the epidemic becomes so much that the effect of the pandemic wipes everyone? He had a lot of what if, what if, what if. And the story has it that the man eventually died of that sickness. Meanwhile, the sickness never came to that community. But he has already framed, he has already pictured the symptoms. You know, a friend of mine during the COVID year wanted to tell me up and say, Naz, I said, what's the situation? See, I'm scared since I have COVID. I said, how? As you know, have you gone for testing? Listen, all the symptoms that I've been showing about COVID, I'm manifesting them. I said, are you serious? He said, yes. I said, okay, just relax. Are you sure? You know, malaria too can trigger similar symptoms, and if you're not having nasal congestion and there's headache there, and perhaps there's a little bit difficult in breathing, I don't blame you thinking it's COVID. I say, but I want to tell you, you're not having COVID 19, and put up that mindset that you're not having COVID 19, so you'll be fine. Just take proper rest and normal medication. And he says, you don't understand. I say, I may not understand, but I think I know what I'm saying. So it took a whole lot because I knew if his mindset was not adjusted, COVID 19 will become real even though he's not having COVID 19. Even the people who are looking for affected patients can carry him to the quarantine center that is affected. And eventually, soon he was fine. And so if his mind has coded COVID 19, he was like, I want to test positive to COVID 19. So the mind plays a whole lot of role in the way we perceive things. Someone leaves for work in the morning and returns back sacked. Ask him, did you in any way think of it? Something was telling me that was sacked today. I said, what happened? Then when the person made that statement, I remember the story of Job. You know, Job said, the things I feared most has come upon me. I said, would it be like sometimes Job was wondering, what if one day I lose all this my assets, I lose all my children, I lose this? And because I was wondering, why was he saying the things I feared most have come upon me? You know, sometimes we can have some pictures of imaginations of negative things happen, and then sometimes you're just trying to come back to consciousness and say, God forbid this can happen to me. I don't know if you've witnessed something like that. Suddenly your mind flies, and then you're just imagining negativity. What if at age this happens to me? What if my parents, any of them die? So how am I in this situation? And suddenly it's like someone taps you, and you're like, what was I even thinking? In fact, sometimes I literally have to speak verbally to rebuke, refuse, and reject such thoughts. And that we live in the spiritual world too, must accept that. And that's what the scripture says, bringing every thought and imagination in obedience to Christ. So your mind plays a whole lot of role in achieving mental health and stability. Without further ado, we quickly want to look at having seen the effect of depression, which is our subject discuss this morning. We've talked about weakening the immune system, deep feeling of sadness, insomnia, even heart attacks too. Beyond heart attacks, we can also talk about increased pain and weight fluctuation. Today, they're like, wow, I love your appearance, I love your physique. Tomorrow, the same person, are you sick? What happened? Those fluctuations. I say, no, everything is fine. If he says everything is fine, then simply no, physically everything is fine, but a lot of things are not fine. And this could be uh, challenges traceable to this. How do we handle these situations? Depression is common to all, common to the young, common to old, common to the youth, even the adults there. In fact, most of them, they are the ones at the greater risk because especially with the recent economic situation of the country, most of our elderly people, our parents, and our elderly ones, um, they attempt to meet different daily demands, family needs, work demands. All of these things will weigh them down and will actually result to issues of depression, especially where the take home is no longer equal to the bill. I saw an artwork. It said the bill was growing like this, salary was growing like this, salary refused to grow. But then daily bills, daily demands, daily expectations kept growing tall. And then the salary still remained at the same level and refused to grow. This will actually bring a concern, and from this concern can slip into depression. So how, if one discovers or gets to see that, come on, some seems I'm already expressing some signs of depression, how will such a person comment? I think let me begin with you.
Like the person should try something. The thing the person enjoys, they should try. Like when one is lost in jobs, like some people they enjoy watching film, doing sports, cooking, dancing, and other things. Like for most people, to avoid thinking and everything, you see them watch film. Some people think it is abnormal for some people to watch film or mind, but for them that is their own cure and remedy to advert thinking and depression. Imagine a person that loves dancing. Like the person thinks too much and the only thing you see the person dance. Sometimes you see the person dance without music. You think the person is mad. But also
That's the situation now. Mental situation are setting. So from our I said, he has got mental. But I think that's a good point.
but because of the thinking is the person wants to run away from depression. The person just acts sometimes it seems within him or outside of him or her and you dance. So I think find something you enjoy helps to deal with depression.
As you do enjoy, how to deal with depression. So whatever you enjoy, if yours, if taking a walk out, some persons, you think you want to surprise them, take them to the biggest eateries in town. No matter what you buy, and then in your mind you're like, I'm sure he will be so pleased now. At least we did this. Person, thank you. A cool response. And guess what? And then you tell the person, okay, let's have a walk down. You through a garden, admire nature, and that gets that person so fascinated. Even you are like, I don't understand. What's so unique and so? And he's saying, can you see this? I used to have a friend in school there, a colleague of mine. We were both interested in environmental aspects of biology. One Mrs. Rachel, she would always admire every flower. I'm sure. In fact, I was like, I hope your husband really copes with this your love for nature. If I'm moving down with Rachel will pause 10 times if you pass 10 flowers or 10 trees because you must pluck the leaf. She must be like, Naz, did you observe this? Did you see that? For her, One of the greatest thing is go on a walk with Rachel. That's fine for her. In fact, I fondly called her a name. I used to call her the flower lady. As the name I called her back then in school. And some person that's whatever you love doing. Sometimes you just need to take yourself out of the busy schedule, out of the multiple demands with less resources. Just tell yourself today, the need for today is me. So I need to take some time off. Take a rest. Take a time. Just create a time to meditate, refresh the mind. Permit me to use the word reset, factory resetting, and have the mind renewed to much better. Then go for that. Cressa, what other ways do you deal with situation of depression?
You can actually deal with depression by listening to someone, a loved one, someone really, really close to you. If you talk to somebody, they're able to advise you. They're able to set you on the right track. You don't, you're just with yourself. You're not thinking of anything. And that's when depression comes in and gives you an idea, which is of course not a good idea. It also increases suicide tendency. People tend to kill themselves if they don't talk to people, if they don't talk to someone.
Yes, they say a problem shared is problem half solved. That's true. If all the people who committed suicide went to someone to say, please, I want to confide you, you're the only one I'm telling this now. I'm going down to the next street where there are bushes around with this road. I want to have commit suicide. Please keep it confidential. Do you think they would successfully in such suicide attempt? Of course no. That day, that person will ensure you don't go out, you become a personal aid. I remember after series of cases of suicide tendency in school, if you see a neighbor or a roommate and then he's going out, where are you going to? I want to spread my clothes, but the lights there are occupied, so I want to go and put this other light somewhere, maybe with a rope, and then I'm not spread my clothes. Okay, let me accompany you. Because we were not confident again that anyone who goes out to throw is not going to commit suicide. The person will come back to say, where do you want to give me? Let me go hang it for you. Should his clothes you want to hang back? So all of such things. And like I told you of my next door neighbor in school, in fact he was a good poet. He composes poem. So that day he wrote a particular poem and he uploaded it on his Facebook page. People were liking and commenting. Oh, you know, he just wrote his tribute. He wrote another one, dropped in the cupboard, and there are a few other things he wrote which were indicating the fact that he was going to take his life. And then I think his roommates, they were not sensitive enough. Perhaps if they are sensitive enough, I think those could be signals that come on, this guy is going to end it. Because I still remember clearly that someone said, of course, when I was asking some questions, that he even told them that when his elder brother comes, they should give him the key to his cupboard, they should show him his laptop, and they show him all of this. Say, these questions, if they are properly addressed, that are you not coming back today? The way you are showing us how to hand over everything to your elder brother. Eventually, so talk with people. Sometimes the thought of suicide could actually be cured by hearing someone present a different opinion. I was talking with my boss at work one of those days, and then we were discussing on issues of depression like this. When she said a man met a counselor, I told the man there was nothing good about me. Life has offered nothing. I had nothing to hold on to. Everything has gone on to end it here. The man said, okay, before you end it, let me ask you a few questions. Do you have a wife? See, yes, I have a lovely wife. So write it down. You wrote it down. What about children? Do you have children? See, my children are exceptionally intelligent, doing well in school. You wrote it down. I think he asked me about 7 questions. And after the man wrote it down, he said, and you said life is not fair to you. What else do you want to have? Because you don't have a big jet, a big car there, fat bank account, but you felt life is miserable. And so the man was like, You was looking at the list, you're like, wait, so how, how is that I never thought of all this in this way? So most times you just need someone else to redirect your thought pattern and to help you see that, come on, you only saw life in a different angle with a different solution. Talk to someone about this situation. They may not just give you money, but they could actually talk to you in a way that will help you to address the situation. All right, now remember, we could drop your contributions and make your inputs to us through the comment section. Now, let me get back to covenant. What other ways do we deal with situations of depression?
We can deal with depression through thinking positively. Most people are seen as motivation speaker nowadays. Like when you say someone, I think of me being a great person in life. Some people tell him or her they're a motivational speaker. That that it's only a motivational speaker that will talk like this. But the person knows what he's doing inside of him. He's trying to make a limit which he can reach to show he's greater and is better. Him thinking positively gives him more hope and gives him reasons to live, to avoid depression, and see his life around him and see it's perfect. When one thinks positively, it thinks that everyone around him is good. It makes one think about the advantages they have in life. When one does not think, it thinks that everything is a disadvantage to him. It thinks his life self is a disadvantage. It thinks that even those trying to help are helping him because of the pity. But one that think positively thinks that they help him because of they love him. It thinks that his life is a gift from God, and he will try to maintain it and maintain his health.
Thank you so much. That's quite an apt point. I remember the book Think Big. That was Ben Carson. Think Big, and John Maxwell will also have some write-ups on that aspect. Think positive. I want to say that the all encompassing of what we become will be a product of our thoughts and our perception. What you think is what you become. A man wrote a book, he said, as a man thinketh, so he is. And a verse of the scripture in the book of Proverbs also has it that way. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. If you think big, think beyond your immediate environment, think global. A global figure, we don't want to end in a local environment. In fact, if by the time you have a global imagination about yourself, have a bigger picture about yourself, all your striving, every difficulty of the day will point to that this is not where you're supposed to be, and I need to leave this environment now until you get to that point. When there is no big picture for the future, everything can go down the drain. Take it, a picture of your future as a Christian will be found in the scriptures. By the time you discover what God says about you, how God thinks about you, what He has made out of us, then we can only but give more time to becoming what He has created about us. Let me get hear from you for the night. Still, how we can deal conscience, how we can deal with depressions.
I think we should mind what we eat and drink. Once one drinks too much, he or she isn't in his right state of mind. Like imagine you talking to a drunk man. Like the man, whatever he says, just know it's for that period of time because it doesn't mean it. Let's say at least 2% is the truth. Once you mind what you eat and what you digest in your body, you try to control it. Like most people, they say it's not good to consume too much salt. Consuming, like when you eat, when you don't mind what you eat and have some health problems, that health problems triggers depression. Imagine a person who doesn't drink water when they eat and they have the kidney stones. That's the person think more often about the kidney stone. And because of that, that is when money challenge comes. If the person is not financially stable, A person looks for ways to get money, which makes the person think beyond what he even or she imagines. So if you mind what you eat and drink, it ensures a healthy body and makes life smooth and easy.
Thank you so much. Mind what you eat, mind what you drink. He said, if you want to know where mine is, check his fridge, check his kitchen. It's the totality of what he eats. If you want to know his pattern of perceiving life, check the thing he also takes into his mind. The things he thinks is what eventually he will become. So if you eat some kinds of food, practice some unhealthy eating pattern, you are actually at the verge of being predisposed to depression. So check up your eating and check what you're eating very well. Probably before we say how to wrap it up, Question, do you have anything to say with respect to how we can actually deal with depression?
Can't you deal with depression by trying new things entirely?
Trying to
And if you try new things, you're occupied with something because you have new things to do and you know that, okay, it is not ending here. I have to go for it. And if you have that in your mind, there's no how you're ready to end anything with anybody or end life itself. So trying new things entirely is actually something you can add to it. And I actually tried to contribute to what Covenant said.
Okay.
She said you should think positively. If a person thinks wide and you have something in your head, even if you should think of ending life, you know that you have a lot of things to achieve. Like now, if a man is going through some financial issues, like I said, if you have it in your mind that you want to become someone big, someone well known, someone that stands for something, you won't be able to end anything someone because you know that you have higher heights to achieve. You have the sky as a limit. But if you have nothing and you already you stopped it somewhere already, there's something you've already done to your life, which is putting it on hold. If your life is on hold, there's no how it can move forward. And that's on your hands to handle. If your life is on hold, it's either you press play button to continue or you just leave it there. But if you have something in your life that you have to achieve, there's no how you end it. And if you achieve it, you want to enjoy it. So that's one thing.
Thank you so much.
So I would love to make contribution to what you said. Like think positively. Like some example we cited there about those who give up their life because of relationship and hardship. Once your mind is being focused on something, follow that thing. Like what life says, there's nothing that stops us from growing higher. So if you have your mind on what you want to achieve, there's nothing that stops you from getting it.
I would like to say something entirely different from what you're saying. I would like to say these things we listed out now about dealing with depression can also become a disadvantage. That's why there's a saying that too much of everything is not good. If you mind what you eat too much, you get this syndrome that everything is poison in your face. When you think positively, you think that only thinking makes your dream come to pass. When you try new things entirely, it's not all new things that is positive in life. Some are bad, some are good. The bad are also positive in life. Bad brings good, good brings bad. But we can't say we want to stay at one side and leave the other side. It's going to be bad. That is why they said another man fruits, another man poison. What you take in today might be what one will reject. Your success might be another person's failure. So when we are dealing with depression, it does not mean that depression is a whole bad is a bad thing on its own. Depression is to be is to be limited to a level and not to be increased. That is why there are some tips of dealing with it. And these tips are not meant to be fully focused on. You're supposed to practice them on a moderate level and not on the higher level. When you practice them on a higher level, you give yourself more depression thinking of it. When you think of everything, you say, oh, you then you see yourself thinking and thinking, then depression starts. So too much of everything is not good. Being at a moderate level is the best.
And so I'd like to add something to that.
Okay.
When it comes to people ending their life for somebody, I believe it's not worth it because the person you're ending your life for doesn't deserve it. If that person pushed you to a point of ending your life, you should know that you're not ending your life for anybody. You're to just leave that person for who he or she is. You don't end your life for anybody because life is not something that is limited to one person. There are other people there, like your family members. If that person is not giving you what you want, then you excuse the person and leave the person to live any disgusting life you don't like. Not ending your life for somebody because someone left you for someone else or anything. If you left it for that person only for one reason, he thinks the person is better than you. And if the person is not better than you, or if it doesn't seem like the person is not better than you, then you leave. But if he stays with you or she stays with you, it's because she knows that she's contented with what you have. So I don't think any female or male is actually just worthy of taking your life from you.
So you've heard from, in fact, beyond being biological, my scholars say I've done a whole lot of philosophical work and they have provided a whole lot of counsel. I wouldn't know how to start expatiating further, but the message have been sent home. Number one, no one is worth ending your life because you were never born for that person and you are not meant to live for that person. And she has also made another point. Do not in any way, we gave out tips on managing. So there are tendencies that these things, you see, stones can become a stumbling block for someone, and to another person, the same stone can become a stepping stone, and the person gets to a new height or to a new level in life. And so, just like he said, do not so much put all of your energy on thinking positive and not acting positive. If you ended up in the thought, to be an illusion. Someone said, your dreams are not what you see when you sleep, but what has the capacity to keep you awake. And not to keep you awake negatively, but to keep you awake positively, working on how to make better out of the situations I found myself. So sometimes you can view depression as a trigger to change level. Another person will see depression as a trigger to end it. So the proverbial adage of a man with a raw egg, and then an elderly man said, this egg in my hands, or rather this fowl, a little fowl, say this little chick, is it dead or alive? The old man said, if I say it's alive, you can strangle it in your hands. If I say it's dead, you will release it. So the condition of the chick is in your hands, and we bring the same conclusion to you that the situations and the condition about you and how you perceive life is actually in your hands. And some of these mental situations which we have x-rayed, irrespective of what life could be pushing your way, you must keep a positive attitude, a positive disposition. You must see reason to go beyond the now. You must see reason to go beyond the suggestion, end it, suicide. No, you can't end it for a situation. Switch up to another situation. The reasons that tell you, what if this? You know, a lot of what ifs and what if and what if. Try to challenge the what if with your own what if. The what if is telling you, what if you fail? What if they laugh at you? What if they scorn at you? What if you don't make it? Can you attempt to also ask the same question to the same mind that has engaged you? What if I make it? What if I succeed? What if instead of laughing, they all give me an applause and a standing ovation? By the time you ask, you realize the thoughts that they are giving you the negative what if has no reply and no responses. Most times, the what if in a positive way has helped me a lot. And as you make confessions, speak positively. We have emphasized on that so much. The things that come after I am will always come looking for you. If you say, I may never do well will come looking for you. Mind what you say, because the things you say, your brain will register it, will process it, and on hard days, the only sound and voice you will hear will be the negative things you spoke about yourself in the past. And do not take what people say about you. Rather, know who you are and uphold whom you are. And above all, we tell you, you are formed in the image and the likeness of God. And so, there is nothing that should make life define you. Rather, define yourself in the knowledge and understanding of whom and of what God has made you. It's still on celebration of the World Mental Health Day today, guys, for the year 2022, 10th October, with the theme Mental Health and Well-being for All, a global priority. And with my friends here at the show, we've made a few inputs who joined the global campaign in creating awareness that the mental health for one is a mental health for all. That if we're going to have an environment that is sane, an environment of people who have a better perception of life, it begins with you, it begins with me. As I think better, act better, react better, the same way the next person does, will have a more sanitized environment. Remember the statement that we may not be able to sweep the whole world, but if everyone can sweep his own corner, in no time, in no distant time, the entire world could be clean. We appreciate the time you spent with us virtually, and we know somehow we've been able to drop few nuggets that will help you or help someone within your environment as you communicate same information on managing health situations. Before we close on the show this afternoon, it's almost afternoon in some part of the world. Of course, we are transmitting from Africa. Some of you who are GMT plus one or GMT ahead, we are already in the afternoon. And for those of you here in Nigeria, still morning. Before we end the program, we want to give a few farewell or last speech or last statement you have for viewers out there. What general advice you have for viewers out there?
I would like to tell our viewers out there that not everything is bad. Everything has a bit of good and everything has a bit of bad. So it depends on you to nurture it and grow it well.
Thank you so much. And you, Dick, comment?
I love to tell you, we have idea that you are not created for others. You are created for yourself. You are created for your greatness, for your strength, and for your wins. So don't listen to what people say. Be confident in yourself.
Thank you so much. And lastly, concept.
I like to tell our viewers out there that no one deserves to die for anybody. No one deserves to die. God gave you the life, and you have the right to take it away. So I'd like you to be happy. Live a life of happiness. Nothing like sorrow, nothing like sadness. And I wish you the best.
Thank you so much. And for me too, I tell you, mind what you eat, mind what you drink. The psychiatric homes can be depopulated if we have less people who are not given to drugs and to alcoholism. A lot of mental disorders are traceable to some of these intakes of harmful substances. And mind the kind of association you keep. Your associations will determine your assimilation. If you keep company with people who only communicate toxic thoughts, soon you'll slide into one or two of these mental disorders we listed. Thank you and have a great celebration in your own corner. And do well to tell one person about the importance of the mental health stability. All right. Thank you so much for coming around. It's nice having you. Thank you.